handoff. Adrian up the middle, room to the 20, cuts to the left to the 25, and Adrian's loose. He splits the defense. 50, 40, 30. Goodbye, baby. Touchdown!
We bleed purple and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome. Behold, we are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores.
Hey there, Minnesota Vikings fans. Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. My name is Kyle West, and alongside me on the other end of the telephone line, Adam Carlson.
Hey, that's me.
That is
Welcome
you.
to the Purple People Podcast. This is episode number 56. 56 of these already, folks. I can't believe it either. And this one is entitled, I Spit on Your Musgrave.
That is a very poignant title there, because that is going to just fill into the inevitable Musgrave bashing that we will be doing later on in the show.
Hey, don't say we.
At least mine, a little bit. We'll get to that in a minute, though.
Before we get into that, I hear that Kyle West has a little something different planned for our social media excursion this week.
Yeah, this is something to mix it up every now and then. I'm going to be throwing questions out to you guys, and I am going to kind of pick some of my favorite responses to read off here at the beginning of the show, and then me and Adam will give our 2 cents as well. So for the first one, I want to know about Kyle Rudolph, and whether or not you guys think he's going to have a breakout season in 2013 for the Minnesota Vikings.
All right. I will answer first.
Okay.
And then we'll get to some of the fan answers.
Yeah.
Now, I think that Rudolph broke out enough last year. I mean, 9 touchdowns. Most of his possessions were in the red zone, and we might see him get more yards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we're going to see him get more targets because the wide receiving core has been strengthened, but I really don't think he has to take any big leap to be considered a viable and essential part of this offense. So to me, I don't think he needs to really do anything different. He's good to go.
Well, I think that more of the league is going to take notice of him, and you're going to see, you'll see other teams paying more attention to what Kyle Rudolph is doing, particularly in the end zone. Now, you look at what he did in the Pro Bowl, and that's, it's a little bit more lax of a game, and, he doesn't have great speed because, well, he's a great big tight end. So, like you said, yards after the catch, that's not going to be his forte for the team. But I think you'll see him get a more of a red zone threat, I think, for sure, for the Vikings. And I've heard him say in interviews that his confidence is at an all-time high right now, too. So he's going to be coming in, and he's ready to have a good season for the Vikings.
Well, let's hear what some of the fans on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you got your answers here were saying.
Well, we got a lot of these from the Facebook group, and we thank everyone for commenting, even those of you that we didn't. I didn't pick. And
those of you who took the opportunity to bash on Christian Ponder instead of answer the question.
Which we like that too. We like all kinds of discussions, even if it's not what we ask about. Let's see, where do we want to start with this? Well, let's just go right from the top of my list. Floyd Morgan, your answer, I like this, even though I don't agree with it, because it's just fun when I don't agree with stuff. If Matt Castle is throwing him the ball. So there you go. According to Floyd, Kyle Rudolph will have a breakout season, but only if Matt Castle is the one throwing him the ball.
That's one opinion.
That is one opinion. I don't necessarily agree, but I thank you for writing in. Shane Isaac, I like this one quite a bit. He said, yes, Adrian Peterson just had the best season of his career, so he's going to see even more 8 to 9 men in the box. He goes on to state that should allow Rudolph and some of the other players on the team, because we're upgraded at wide receiver, that should help Ponder make or break this year, so we should expect him to step up with better wide receivers and defense focusing on Adrian. Basically, with the season that Adrian had, that's going to allow everyone else on the team to be able to step up and do better, which I think we can all agree with that statement.
Well, I'm going to save my conversation about that for our first topic of the show because I don't want to be repeating myself. So, yeah.
Okay, I'll look forward to that one. I got a couple more responses here I want to read off.
All right.
Harry, he sent in, could be yes, could be no, all depends on how well Ponder is doing. It's a
Yeah,
lot.
that opened up a bag of worms there.
Yeah, there's a lot of criticism coming in from Ponder, and some of it I rightfully so, some of it not so much. And we'll get to Ponder is going to tie into our Bill Musgrave topic that we're going to be talking about here in a little bit. So I'm going to save more thoughts for that coming up here too. Let's see. I got one more that I want to read off. Chris Christensen, he says, currently I would rank him as a top 15 tight end. After this season, he would be top 10 easily, and I would say top 7. My prediction is about 60 receptions for 875 yards and 10 touchdowns.
That's actually a pretty fair assessment.
Yeah, the receptions, the yardage, and the touchdowns. Maybe I would like to see higher, touchdowns, but getting him into double digits would be a big, a good thing for the Vikings to do. And I don't, he's not going to be a player where you're going to get a lot of yards after the catch anyway. So that's probably 875 is probably right on par for what to expect from him.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right, let's take a break from that talk there about Kyle Rudolph, and let's move into talking about the guy who tells him what to do, and that's Bill Musgrave. He calls up the plays, he designs them up, and Kyle West seems to have some sort of issue with him.
Well, I wouldn't say it's an issue with him, not yet anyway, because we're going to see what happens as the season progresses as to whether or not I have an issue with Bill Musgrave. Now, the central theme that we're going to base this discussion around as to whether or not this is a make or break year for Bill Musgrave and the Minnesota Vikings.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you got to say about it?
Well, I thought you were going to maybe chime in and say something there, but I guess I'll go first on this topic. I'm going to say that yes, this is a big-time make or break year for Bill Musgrave, and if the offense continues to look predictable, which it did quite frequently from time to time last year, if you see playmakers being pulled out of the end zone, like what we seen happen last year, which I think was part of Percy Harvin's frustrations with the team, is when it seemed like they would get into the red zone, and then suddenly Percy gets pulled, and they're running plays with Devin Aromashadu. I didn't like those kind of play calls one bit. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off topic here. I think that Musgrave was brought in with the idea that he's really good with quarterbacks. He's going to be able to develop Christian Ponder. And for better or worse, I think Ponder is at the point where you don't really need someone to be the big quarterback guru that's going to develop him. Like he's going to show us his true colors and what he's going to be this season. But I also think that if Bill Musgrave doesn't mix it up and show smart play calling, he's going to be out the door before Christian Ponder will be.
All right, now I'll chime in, and I will say that I'll take the other side of that coin, and I'll say that no, Bill Musgrave is not on the hot seat. Although his play calling is conservative, and he showed a bit more of an affinity towards the run game than the pass game, I think that was because last season he really wanted to establish himself and help have a really easy offense for Christian Ponder. Not only that, but I think Musgrave knew that he wasn't going to get a ton of downfield action from, Jerome Simpson with the bad foot and the bad back, and from Michael Jenkins, Jenksy Cat over there on the other side. They're not going to get you that separation. Well, now they've got Jennings over here. They've got a healthy Jerome Simpson and a healthy Cordero Patterson over here. They got Jarius Wright in the slot, who we saw last year has the
Mhm.
speed to break away from some of those defenders. So they actually have the ability now to pass downfield. Now, where I was going to relate this earlier was when they were talking about Christian Ponder, or wait a minute, about Adrian Peterson drawing defenders to the box. Well, that was a major problem last year because the Vikings didn't have that downfield air attack. Well, now, if teams try to stack the box, the Vikings will have the ability to make that deep play. And so they're going to have to cover deep, which opens up the middle of the field.
Mhm.
Now, in the middle of the field, that's where we're going to see guys like Jarius Wright and Kyle Rudolph work their magic. And that is why I think that Ponder is really going to succeed, and why I think that Musgrave is really going to show that he knows what he's talking about when it comes to this team.
Well, I hear you, Adam, and I hope you're right. Like I want to see Ponder succeed, and if Bill Musgrave can be the guy that can do that, sure. I really don't care who's back there calling plays, so long as they're
Right.
so long as they're good, good creative plays. It seems like so many times last year it was predictability, which I know what you're saying about. Basically, that was Adrian that we were riding on offense. When you got
Right.
molasses Mike Jenkins out there, you're not doing much.
They were
Stretch
running streak routes with Michael Jenkins.
with Michael Jenkins. Yeah, I totally hear you, and I'm with you on that one. But there was quite a bit of. It was predictable, and there was some confusing things that you would see them do from time to time, trying to run little trick plays and dumb
Right.
things like that. That it's like, quit trying to be cute. Don't do that crap. I guess I think though is that if this something was to happen offensively, Bill Musgrave is going to be the one that they're going to throw under the bus before they throw Christian Ponder under, because I really do believe in this, because Spielman is a Ponder guy. Okay,
Yes, totally.
that's his pick. He's going to be with Ponder. They're going to give Ponder every chance to succeed, even if that means we're going to blame this on Bill Musgrave if things don't go correctly, and he's going to be out, and someone else is going to be in, and we're still going to stick with Ponder in 2014.
But we really don't want a situation either like Alex Smith had in San Francisco, where he was dealing with so many different offensive coordinators that he couldn't find any rhythm for anything. He was constantly learning new terminology, new teammates, new systems, new everything. And to me, that would be one of the worst things they could do for this team to develop chemistry between the quarterback and the wide receiver, and to
Yeah.
develop Christian Ponder as a player. So to me, I would hate to see it happen. I'm not a huge Bill Musgrave fan, but I think he's adequate for this offense.
hmm We'll see. We're getting enough weapons, on paper, and we're at the time of year where every team looks really good on paper, unless you're the New York Jets. Jets don't count. But
Jacksonville Jaguars look pretty terrible too.
yeah,
to
they
be
look
honest.
pretty terrible too. But I think every fan base for every team is sitting down right now and going, "Boy, on paper we look really good." But I think legitimately the Vikings on paper look like they're going to be a really good team, and you start to wonder, at least I do anyway, if how did you describe Musgrave just a minute ago? Good, just good enough.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we're starting to getting to a point potentially where being just good enough might not get the job done. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, I know one guy the Vikings think was good enough. That was Desmond Bishop, because they signed him to a 1-year, $1.5 million contract.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like that segue into the next topic here? I'm
I-
pretty smooth, huh?
I did. That was nice, Adam. You should work in radio for that.
Now, they said that he is going to add in and join the competition for the middle linebacker position, but let's be honest. There's no competition there. He will be the starting middle linebacker. We will see Aaron Henderson move back out to the outside, which I think is a really good thing, because we have a lot of young players on this team that are dealing with injuries, need time to develop. Some guys that are really raw, and they need time to learn and heal and all that kind of stuff. So really, for a 1-year contract, while the other guys are getting ready and developing, at that cost, it was really a great, great thing. And Desmond Bishop had other options. He had other offers on the table. and he chose to come to Minnesota, and I really believe that it was because he has the chance to play Green Bay up to 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean, this is going to be fun because I actually don't agree with you on this topic, and this is kind of a rarity here at the podcast where we find something that we just don't agree with. I think, and for one thing, I don't even really want to touch upon the Green Bay Packer playing them twice a year thing. Maybe we'll save that for another show. I don't agree that he instantly gets signed to a 1-year contract and that he's the starter at that position. I think that Aaron Henderson is going to legitimately challenge him in training camp and preseason for that spot on the team. I don't.
Oh, sure, he'll try.
Yeah, and I think that's good competition. I don't think he's just going to be head and shoulders above Aaron Henderson. I really don't. I could be completely wrong on this one, but I think there's going to be competition there.
To me, I'll take the experience that Bishop has to offer over the heart that Aaron Henderson has. And to me, I think that actually having Bishop there is a good thing for Henderson, because if Henderson were to move into that spot next year, he could learn a lot from Bishop this year.
Well, we'll see. It's also the 1-year deal, I think, is very striking too, because if they felt that he was any kind of we're going to sign him, he's going to be our starter, like we're just going to sign him, he's going to go right into the starting spot, I would think they would have maybe done a 2-year or a 3-year deal with him. I realize he's coming off an injury. I'm thinking the 1 year is really has to do with the fact that they want Aaron Henderson to win that spot out over top of him. I think they do.
See, I'm not going to say Aaron Henderson. I'm going to say that they've got a lot of people in camp that they are really trying to develop for that position. I mean, they've got Audie Cole, they've got Michael Mout, they've got Aaron Henderson. All these guys they want to try there. But I don't think any of them are really quite ready. I know they've got the heart, they've got the desire, they've showed some flair, but to me, the experience is more important. And Henderson knows outside linebacker. And when you get him, Bishop, and Greenway next to each other as linebackers, they're all experienced, and they can add a lot to this team in terms of leadership, because this is still a really young team.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, I would be totally fine with that lineup that you just said. If that happens, like, that's cool. That's a good group of linebackers to get out there. Like you said, they're young. We're young at that position, but we've got good talent at that linebacker spot. Like what I remember saying that on the 53 show that we did last week. And adding in Desmond Bishop, you're adding more talent to what I felt was already a talented spot. It'll be interesting to see who they cut because of his signing, though. I'm kind of looking.
I really think that Mauti will end up on IR this year.
Yeah.
To me, the most interesting part of the Bishop signing is what happens with Gerald Hodges now. Because at first the idea was that Henderson would be starting in the middle and Hodges would compete for that outside job and most likely win it. Well, I don't think Hodges will beat out Aaron Henderson.
No.
And it's so interesting because now Hodges will have a little bit of time to learn behind Henderson. So hopefully that can help him develop before he has to step into the role too. It's really cool to see this team have so much young talent that they can't even fit onto the field.
I know. It's the exact opposite problem of what we had under Brad Childress.
Yeah.
Where we had a window under Brad Childress, and that window was closing. It was constantly closing. And that was when you're bringing in Brett Favre and we're trying to sign Randy Moss from the Patriots. It's just a window that's getting tighter and tighter and tighter all the time. What we have now is one that's just constantly open. And it's getting open, it's getting larger all the time. And, it's just fun to see young talent fighting it out on this team. And these group of linebackers we got, I'm really looking forward to going up to Mankato and watching them in training camp and watching them on TV during preseason just to see how this is going to shake out. Because it's going to be a fun spot for sure.
And don't forget about Tyrone McKenzie and Marvin Mitchell either, because those are two guys too at linebacker that they really can play.
Yeah, and Marvin Mitchell's a damn good special teams guy too.
So we've got all these guys, and we're just adding Desmond Bishop to the mix. And for right now, we'll say it's competition at middle linebacker. That's what they're saying, but honestly, I don't think it's going to be.
I think it'll be more competition than what people are willing to just anoint to him right now. But anyway, let's move on.
One weird thing before we move on though is I want to talk about, are fans happy that the Vikings signed Desmond Bishop instead of a guy like Brian Urlacher? I think that would be something
that'd be a good
we could
social
try out
media
on
question.
Facebook and ask. Yeah. Maybe that's what we'll do for next week.
I agree. We'll do that for there's our early look at our social media question for next week. So get your answers ready and look for that on the Facebook page.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And while we're talking about battles in camp, that goes right into our next topic, where we're going to be talking about the starting safety position.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we know that Harrison Smith is going to be a starting safety because, let's face it, the guy is pretty incredible.
A beast. Can we just do a whole show dedicated to how awesome Harrison Smith is?
Well, we could, but I don't know how much people would love it. But we're talking about that safety position, and we're talking about Sanford, Raymond, and Blanton fighting for that spot.
Okay.
Now, those are three really interesting guys because Minnesota has had a different starter at strong safety each season for the past 3 seasons. Now, that's a lot of turnaround at that spot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, last year, Sanford started 13 games, and he seems in camp to have a stranglehold on that starting position. Now, that's not to say he can't lose out the position in preseason or in training camp or anything like that, but Sanford also signed back with the Vikings on a 2-year, $5 million deal in March, which, as you just saw, Bishop got a $1.5 million, and for Sanford to get $2.5, you know, they probably see something pretty special in the kid and really want to keep him. So, when you look at it like that, we're seeing more young guys competing. We're seeing more talent. And it's the same kind of theme that we've been hitting on lately, is how the Vikings are bringing in these young guys. And I admit, I like Robert Blanton. I left him off my 53 last week. And to be honest, he could very, very well make the team. But I think that Sanford, Raymond, and Sendejo will be the other 3 safeties alongside Harrison Smith.
Robert Blanton is one of those guys that if he doesn't make the team, will be one that will be signed almost immediately after he's cut.
Totally.
On someone else's roster. Like that's, which is in some strange way, to kind of just sidetrack here for a minute. I kind of like that when it's like you have a guy that is really talented and he gets signed by another team after you cut him, and you guys might be thinking, well, why? That's stupid. Why didn't you just keep him? Well, because that means we have a lot of talent on the team already, and if we have to cut guys that are talented enough that another team picks them up instantly, that speaks well to how good our college scouts are doing at bringing talent into this roster.
Absolutely, and remember that Blanton was a converted corner to safety.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. A fellow Golden Domer who played alongside Harrison Smith.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So there's a lot of reasons to want that guy to succeed.
Yeah, totally. Jamarcus Sanford is my answer to your question, and I have a love-hate relationship with him because there's been times over his tenure here in Minnesota where he's looked like crap, and I've been like, get off the team, Jamarca, I hate you. And then there's other times where he flashes, and he looks really good. And last year, I think Jamarca actually came into his own for the team, you know, after he had that spell where didn't he get hurt or something?
I'm not sure.
Wasn't there something that happened where
I don't know.
Something happened with Mr. Raymond. Maybe he got hurt and Jamarca had to step in. I don't remember how that shook out now at this point. But I really did think that Jamarca played pretty darn good ball for the team last year. And he's a really good trash talker. That's a good underrated aspect of his team. If you guys pay attention to the Vikings players after plays are over, you'll notice that he's constantly got his head turned around and he's always talking crap to the other team. as they're walking away, and I like that, especially at the safety position. That's kind of
Oh yeah.
something that I look for in a safety player. So yeah, I like Jamarca. I like Mistral Raymond too. I don't want to count him out too much. So it's good to have both those guys because you can kind of rotate them in and out.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good rotation to have.
I have one friend who absolutely can't stand Mistral Raymond,
Yeah.
and he calls him Menstrual Raymond. Which, if you're not sure what that is, ask your mommy.
Wikipedia. You can go to
'Cause
wikipedia.com.
They'll explain it to you. But that is our explanation for the battle at starting safety. I don't know who you guys would prefer. If you have any preference, tweet.
Yeah,
Facebook
it's a
us, let
good
us know.
group. It's a good group of safeties led by Harrison Smith and yeah, Jamarca and Mistral Raymond back there, Robert Blanton possibly. That's a good group. Young group, aggressive group.
Definitely.
Hmm.
And now into the quick hits, which lets you know that we're pretty close to the end of the show. Xavier Rhodes, or Xavier Rhodes as he likes to be called, had his
X-Man.
23rd birthday on Wednesday. Happy birthday to the Vikings rookie cornerback. Coaches are praising his pass coverage skills in camp, and he's looking like he's going to do a great job.
Hmm.
We had another birthday on Friday, Latroy Guion. I don't know how.
I think it's
people
got.
pronounce it.
I'm
I
pretty sure it's
different ways.
Troy Guion.
I like Guion. I don't know
I
why.
know you're the only person I know who pronounces it like that, but
But happy birthday to him anyway. 26 years old. Now, if you follow us on Facebook, you have seen the Vine video of our new punter, Jeff Block. It is a very amusing Vine video of him holding the football in some pretty weird places. Now, special teams coach Mike Prefer came out and talked about how much he loves new punter Jeff Block and how much he really appreciates his contributions to the team.
oh, Mike Prefer. If I didn't have as much respect for him as I do, because I know he's a really good special teams coach, and he's just an all-around really good talent evaluation, whatever.
Definitely.
I'd be ragging on him so hard right now, but yeah.
In case you don't listen to our previous shows, Kyle West is our resident Chris Cluey lover.
I am. I think he got a raw deal in Minnesota, and just yeah, we'll see what's his name, John Locke, or that's character from Lost. What's our punter's name?
Jeff
Locke. I'll call him John Locke. That was the guy from Lost, the TV show.
Hey, lock it up.
Yeah, we'll see what he can do. I do really like the fact that he's wearing the number 12, by the way. That just amuses me to no end that he took Percy Harvin's number. I'm
It
sure
is pretty cool.
I'm sure that's just a coincidence, but I guarantee you when I go to Mankato, there's just going to be people with Harvin jerseys that got duct tape
Tons
over
of number 12.
over
jerseys.
Harvin, over the back of it with Locke wrote in Sharpie. I guarantee
yeah.
that's going to happen, so that'll be funny. I look forward to seeing that.
Our next quick hit, Chad Greenway's knee surgery was a success. They cleared some debris out of his knee, and it shouldn't keep him out of any team activities.
Some debris.
Debris.
Yeah, that sounds like road work.
I always thought Debris was a character on Degrassi Junior High, but that's a complete different conversation. Now, we are now on sportsblog.com, so if you want to check us out there, I had personally never heard of it, but I had it recommended to me. Why not?
We're on all kinds of places. We're on so many places, I can't even keep track of all of them.
Yeah, so wherever you are, type in Purple People Podcast, and boom, we'll probably pop up.
Yeah.
Jared Allen said in an interview that the Vikings Super Bowl chances rest on Christian Ponder's shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting statement.
I would agree with that.
Hits that I want to throw out there.
I would agree with that statement.
Now, the next quick hit is more of a ha ha ha, Adam was right, because I love doing these. Sharif Floyd was taking the first team reps in nickel formation.
Mm-hmm.
We had talked about this previously on the show, and I said that would be one of the most likely places that they would use him, and I am happy to be right.
Coach Carlson is at it again.
Yeah. Now, if you've been paying attention to social media, you will have seen many people just raving about wide receiver Cordero Patterson. I don't think we will have to wait very long for him to take over the starting spot from Jerome Simpson. I'm not sure it'll take very long at all.
They're saying that like Randy Moss style speed, which
Oh yeah.
one of those quotes that almost scares you a little bit because you're like, oh, he's starting to get a lot of hype going for him. And when you start saying things like Randy Moss speed, you're going to get a lot of fans' attention. And if he doesn't come out and produce within the first couple weeks like what Randy Moss did, maybe people start to be a little hard on the guy. I hope not, guys. Give him a chance to get acclimated with the system and the team and realize that just because he's wearing 84 on the chest, he's probably not going to have the same rookie season that Randy Moss had. So, perspective.
As long as he doesn't have Randy Moss's work ethic, I'm all right with it.
Hey, Randy didn't have to have work ethic because he run like a gazelle up the side of the field. No one could catch him. It didn't matter if he ran routes correctly because you just bomb it to him and go up over top, double, triple coverage. He's going to catch the ball regardless.
All right, on to our next quick hit.
No, let's
One of my
continue
favorite
talking about
Vikings-
Moss, Adam.
One of my favorite Vikings, Victor the Viking, was on hand for the mascot races at Bentleyville, USA in Duluth, Minnesota.
Mhm.
Hopefully you got to check it out because I really like Victor the Viking.
Did you
adorable.
know, Adam, back when I was in high school, I didn't play football. I'm too small to play football.
No such thing.
Whatever. And I'm like Randy Moss. I don't have much of a work ethic either. So that'll relate into it too. But I got to wear the costume, the mascot costume when I was in high
Nice.
school. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. I can relate with Victor, the
Good old Victor.
good old Victor.
And my final quick hit. This is some numbers, so pay attention. Adrian Peterson needs 1,802 rushing yards this year to pass LaDainian Tomlinson for the most rushing yards ever by a player in their first 7 seasons.
You'll do it.
No doubt in your mind, no hesitation, nothing, huh?
No, because he's going for 2,500. So if he gets the number that you just said, that'll be like a disappointing season for Adrian Peterson.
It's sad that 1,802 would be disappointing.
Yeah, we'd all be talking like, God, he had kind of an off year this year, didn't he?
That's just a testament to how much of a freak he is.
Like we were saying, I remember us talking when we were doing our game recap shows, where we'd be like, yeah, and he only had 150 yards rushing this game. It's like,
Oh, I'm looking forward to some of those game recap shows. I can't wait to do some of those.
God, is it like football season yet? I'm so ready for Vikings football to just be here so we have games to talk about again.
That'll do it for me this week. Do you have anything else you'd like to add, Kyle?
I don't.
All right.
I should think up something creative to say at the closing.
Well, I'd like to thank
Maybe
everyone
next
for
week.
listening. Remind us to check us out. Facebook, Twitter, wherever you like to see us. And remember to stay classy, Minnesota.
We bleed purple and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome. Behold, we are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores. We roar, ignite the stands. We bleed purple and our bones are gold. We're the kings of the north. Our slogan skull. No Packer, no bear, no lion can beat us. We will punish anyone if they try to defeat us. He's the MVP, appreciated greatly. Running all day, 2K, that's AP. Make a defense cry, or maybe beg. ACL stands for Adrian's crazy leg. He's the heart of the team, 28, holding up that Lombardi is a part of the dream. We will never give up, we find the faith to move past.